Good morning, gentlemen. All right, welcome to another Blackbird Friday workshop here. And yeah, sorry for the little delay. Windows was not allowing me to resize some of the windows on my desktop. Really, still getting used to Windows 11 here. Let's see here. I should finish taking a look at the names in the room. And let's see. All right, I do recognize all the names in the room here, I believe. But since there are a bunch of new names here, I'm going to just double check on the workshop introduction here. Yeah, so let me just double check here to see if anybody would like to hear the workshop introduction. All right, so the introduction is I'll explain what I do in these workshops, what I do not do in these workshops. Probably the more important aspect of that is what I don't do. I'll explain how the recordings work. So if you ask a question, you'll know how soon you would be able to watch a recording there, up on YouTube afterwards. And then lastly, the last topic is I'll explain what custom indicators I can install on my machine here. So if you do have a question about using a custom indicator, I'll let you know which ones I can install and which ones I will not install there. All right. So if anybody would like to hear that workshop introduction, let me know, and I'll get that out of the way first. So, and let's see here. Let's see. I did have a couple of emailed in questions to get today's workshop started, but I had to email back with clarifications here. Let me just see. All right. Do you see Doug is here? Yeah. So Doug, I did email you back here at last minute here. So if you could just respond back to the email and let me know you've done that. And then, because I'm assuming, your emailed in question was, to be addressed in today's workshop there. So I just wanted to get a little more clarification on a couple things here. So, let's see here, Leor. No, I have not seen your email. Oh, there it is. All right. There were quite a lot of emails today. Usually Friday is pretty minimalistic, a minimum number of emails on Fridays, but today it was, really busy, so I didn't actually get down to yours. So give me a moment here to take a look at your question there. And all right, well, Leor has sent some great screenshots here that I'm looking through. Well, all right. So Lior's question is actually a two-parter. So part one is about allowing trades within the VWAP here. So all right. Um, let me pull up these screenshots so everybody can see and we can discuss this. Um, and there we go. All right, so this will help everybody understand what a support tech person needs, from you guys when you ask questions here. All right, let's get that in there. Get rid of that. Although actually first, all right, there's a couple screenshots. But first, this almost happened to me again today. Just want to make sure everybody is aware that there's a new update to NinjaTrader. So they just pushed out 8.1.6.1. So 6.1 is now out here, right? So most people are probably on that. But then if we scroll all the way down to the bottom, there we go. So just a couple of days ago, they just released 1.6.1 there. And it just has basically a bunch of fixes in it. So you may want to grab that there just to let everybody know. So, all right. Yeah. All right. So that's out of the way. So now let's get to these screenshots here. And also let me kind of clean up the Q&A window there a little bit. Let's see here. All right. So let's see here. So we have trading is allowed between prior day high, prior day low. Okay, that's understandable. That's the indicator. Now, as far as these vertical lines, there's no indication as to what's defining these vertical lines there. So, so I would need to know that information there. And this also would be done within Bloodhound, right? So we'd need to create some Bloodhound continuous signals here to identify when the market is in between the prior day high and the prior day low, to allow trading. And then also, whatever is establishing these vertical blue lines here. So I need to know that. And we can, put together probably sounds like two solvers probably together, and then create long and short outputs, continuous outputs, as long as the market is in between, these two prior day high and low and whatever these vertical lines are. So, yeah. So again, I need to know what's defining these vertical lines here, so that we can establish, what the starting time is and what the ending time is there. But in any case, this is a Bloodhound question there. Right, and so the next part here, this is a Blackbird question. All right. So essentially, so it looks like you just want to learn how to set a profit target here on the VWAP here. There's not much information here. Oh, okay. Sorry, my mistake. Sell order. All right, so that's the entry, and that's the entry. Take profit, take profit. Yeah. So I could show how to set the take profits here, but I have no idea why these are sells. So this needs to be explained. Um, yeah, nothing tells me why. Why is there a sell here? Why is there a sell here? So you got to be literally very explicit. I don't, I don't assume anything when I answer people's questions anymore. I learned 13 years ago. Every time I assume something, traders always have some other idea in mind. So I've learned not to go with what I believe trading is, and I have to get very explicit answers from customers, so that way I answer the question correctly there. So, but in any case, this also is Bloodhound. So, yeah, it sounds like you're wanting to trigger an entry to sell, at these 2 points. And again, those are Bloodhound questions there. All right. So my suggestion is that once I get all that information, um, then we can pick this up next week, right? Because the first thing you got to do is build the Bloodhound signals first, which is why the Bloodhound workshops were yesterday, right? Thursday comes first, and then Blackbird is afterwards, because you got to build the Bloodhound signals first, and then you hook the Bloodhound signals into Blackbird. That's why Blackbird is on Fridays. So, all right. So this will be to be continued next week. Although in the meantime, if you want, Leor, I can show you how to set your profit targets right to the VWAP line there. Um, yeah, if you want to see that ahead of time, but otherwise, yeah, we'll just wait till next week. But I'll let you decide there. So, um, let's see here, and looks like Leor saying order only borderlines. Borderlines. Um, yeah, I don't know what a borderline is when it comes to trading. Um, yeah, try and use trading terminology. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what a borderline is, and how that factors in to trading there. So, but in any case, yeah, this is not a Bloodhound workshop, so I'm not going to get into this. I wouldn't recommend answering me in the Q&A window, because I'm not going to do anything with it until we get to the Blackbird workshop next week there. So what I'll do is I will follow up on your email after this workshop there, and just give you a list of all the questions I have, and what needs to be explained to me there, in greater detail there. All right, so that way we can kind of get back to actually answering Blackbird questions. So, um, let's see. Yeah, and again, answers like first and standard deviation, I know those are first and standard deviations. That doesn't tell me what the entry is. So, yeah. Um, so, there. All right. Yeah. So unfortunately, it doesn't like we can do anything today with Leor's question here, but that's good. I always like to have something queued up for next week, so we'll get this all built out next week once I understand exactly, what the entries are and what the limitations are there. So, yeah. All right. So Leo is saying the blue lines are just markers. Yeah. Um, uh, Yeah, you can't just use markers to say no trading, because that marker there doesn't define anything. That marker doesn't say if it's a start time or end time. That marker doesn't say if it's a start or end time. So, right, you have to have more you have to have a better definitive answer to that, such as, trading can start at 6 in the morning, or whatever it is, and then trading has to end at whatever time of day, you know. So you can't just draw lines and say, because software wouldn't know which line's what, right? A line is just a line. It doesn't say start here or end here, right? So, yeah. There. Okay. Let's see. All right. Yeah. So hopefully everybody else kind of has a little better understanding of kind of the detailed information I need to know, so I understand exactly what you guys are wanting to build out. So, yeah. All right. Well, let's drop these off then. And let me see what other questions here. Let's see here. All right. So Doug is looking at my emails there. And all right, and Doug has gotten back to me there. And let's see here. All right, well, let me jump back here actually to Wayne's question. Yeah, let me see. Where is your email? There it is. Oh, yeah. All right, Wayne. Yeah, yours was way down the list, which I didn't get that far down this morning either. All right, so just give me a moment here. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, Wayne, I did actually ask you in the email what was drawing those lines here. So let's see where. Oh shoot! Let's see. Hopefully, I might still have. Yeah, that screenshot here from Wayne in my history. Which one would it be? That one? Ah, here we go. Yeah. So Wayne, I was asking. Yeah. So in yesterday's workshop, so for everybody else, just to kind of catch up real quick here. So in yesterday's workshop, we built the signals here um, in Bloodhound, and the signals are pretty simple. So when the market is moving up here, and we'll use bar A here as an example. So when the low of the current bar has a gap between at least 2 bars back. So you got to compare the low to the high of 2 bars back. So you skip the previous bar, right? Skip the previous bar and you jump from the low to the high. And if there's a gap there, then that's a signal. And you keep on going back as well. So you can go back at least 4 bars, maybe 5 bars. That's discretionary for the trader here. So you compare that low to that high, and so you have a short signal here, denoted by the red line. And then if you compare that low to that high, there's also a gap, right? So that would also trigger a short signal here. But the component that's missing here, and Wayne, this is what I was asking you, what is drawing those lines, right? Because Bloodhound doesn't draw these lines. And Blackbird doesn't track stuff. That's not what Blackbird does. Blackbird manages orders. It doesn't track bar prices here. So this is a situation here where you need a custom indicator to identify where these various entry prices are. So yeah, that's what custom indicators do. Kind of like a super trend, right? Yeah, so just to kind of provide an example here, let's go to Lizard Trader. And actually, I'll just put up the ATR trailing stop indicator. This looks just like the super trend there, right? Now, Bloodhound's not calculating those stop loss prices, right? That's a custom indicator. So again, Blackbird is not going to calculate these lines for you. That's not what Blackbird does. It just manages the orders. So when you have custom calculations like this, you need a custom indicator to figure out those prices and then plot it on the chart, such as like this ATR trailing stop indicator does there. Yeah. Now, so for today, I can show you how to just pull in those signals that we built, but Blackbird has no idea what bar price it should be using. Now, if you limited this so that your Bloodhound signals only compared the current bar to 2 bars back, right? Then there's no variability here, right? 2 bars back is a fixed number. And so Blackbird can then just say, oh, okay, grab the high price of 2 bars back, and that's what you'll use to set your entry order. But when you're looking back, an unknown number, when you get a signal, it's not Blackbird's job to try and figure out, well, which bar price should I be using when I'm looking, looking back that's when a custom indicator needs to come into play there, and the custom indicator will have to do all the calculations of saying, okay, is it this bar high? Is it that bar high? Is it that bar high that the entry order is set to there? There. So, and then vice versa here when the market's moving down, right? So this is for everybody else. When the price is moving down, then you're taking, let's take B5 here as an example, right? This high, has a gap between the second bar back's low. So that gap means that, okay, that would be a long signal there. All right. So we can set this up in a limited fashion where Blackbird is just setting the entry order at 2 bars back, depending on the, whether it's a long or a short signal there. Yeah. So let's go ahead and, get that set up there. All right, so I need to switch over to, all right, I'm gonna go with a 20-second chart here. There. And, all right, wow, that loaded quick. Boy, yeah, I was having problems loading data this morning, but that loaded up quick. Nice. All right, so let's get Blackbird open. And first thing we'll do is we'll pull in the Bloodhound signals that we built in yesterday's workshop. So, all right, so click on the menu again. And so we need to load in the Bloodhound template from yesterday. So click on the 3 dots, the ellipses button. All right, so there is yesterday's Bloodhound workshop file. And then select the logic template here. Yeah, so essentially, right, these are bar gaps that are being identified. So those are the signals, the entry signals. All right. And so now we can set up the entry order. All right. So these are all stop entries. So let's see here. Um, yeah, so I'm just going to go with the first one. Um, actually, I'm thinking, um, yeah, I'm just thinking to myself if we could actually use the trailing one. No. Um, hmm. No, I don't think, no, the trailing one wouldn't work out. So the trailing one would need that custom indicator that's drawing those entry prices. Yeah. And then Blackbird would know when it can trail and when it can't. So we'll just have to go with the fixed one there. And let's pull up. All right. So again, we're limiting this system so that and Bloodhound will only generate a signal when comparing the current bar to 2 bars back. All right, so no 3, 4, or 5 bars back. Only those 2 bars are going to be compared. And then because this is a fixed number of bars back, right? That number never changes. Then we can get Blackbird to say, all right, yeah, so just look 2 bars back and use that high price or use that low price there. So opening up the order, our entry order here, there. All right, we're going to go into the initial placement there. And so for a long trade, yes, it actually is the high price. Yeah, it is the high price, but we need to look back 2 bars. So remember, a period always starts at 1, right? You can't have a 0 period. So the current bar is 1, so we're not using the current bar. And remember, the system skips the next bar back, so we're going back to the 3rd bar there. All right. And so the short side, right, was automatically updated there for us. And that was it. So that's all we had to do is to say, okay, we're going to set our buy stop entry order at the high of two bars back, or a look back period of 3. Okay. And that's that. So that's really the key. And of course, you can put in whatever profit target or stop loss that you might want there. But the key, right, to this is getting the entry order set up correctly. So let's just go with that. And all right. So always pay attention to the blue notifications down here, right? That's Blackbird communicating with you. So let's reload the chart. So that way Ninja can load up Bloodhound. There we go. And we're going to go in here and set up the correct logic template. And also I'm going to make a quick modification here. So, and oh, there it is. All right, so basically we're only using that node right there. So make that change. And let's take a look at what we have here. Yeah, so right here we have a long because we have a gap between the, oh, sorry. I did set things up backwards. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I know, this system was always I'm always getting the bar low and high prices reversed on me. Um, sometimes counter trend systems here could throw me for a loop. All right, easily solved. We just switch the long to the low price. There we go, all done. And all fixed. All right, so again, looking at this, right, we do have a gap from here to here. So there's our long signal, and with that adjustment I just made, right, the stop buy order would be placed at the low there. So, and same situation here, from here to here. There we go. All right. So I'll just open this back up there, right? So the reason why an indicator is needed is because this look back period is constantly changing depending on the look back from the current bar looking back on previous bars, right? So that's why you need an indicator here, because you're constantly looking back at different bars there. And so that number is essentially changing all the time there. And so that triggers needing a custom indicator to figure out which look back, is actually being used to find the low price from that bar. So, yeah. So, all right. So let me pause there for a moment and take a look at the Q&A window, see if there's any follow-ups here. Yeah. Um, all right. So yeah, there we go. Okay. So good. Looks like Wayne understands, yeah, what's going on here. Um, all right. Let's see. Oh, we did have a short in. What happened here? Oh, yeah. Oops. Okay. I made a mistake here. Um, yeah. Shoot. All right. I forgot about one of the questions in yesterday's workshop here. So, all right. Let's hopefully we'll get another signal here. But yeah, we can see here that daily chart data is missing. Yep. So, um, so I need to load at least 8 days here, but just to be sure, I'm going to load 10 days here. So that way, Bloodhound has all the data it needs to load in daily bars. Yeah, that was one of the later questions in yesterday's workshop there. And all right, still loading. There. All right, let's turn the auto trader on there. So, let's see here. All right. Let's see here. All right, I'm going to jump down here to one of Doug's kind of follow-up questions here. So Doug is confused about my use of custom indicators within these workshops here. Yeah, so previously I said it, I don't, that I will not load custom indicators. No, that's not what I said. So I said I will not load paid indicators. So, so let's go through this again here just to make sure everybody's on the same page here. Yeah. So as far as custom indicators that I can load into my NinjaTrader here, I can only load in what are considered freely available indicators. So in other words, no paid indicators. And I'll give you some examples here. So like all of these lizard indicators, lizard trader indicators, or as they call it, lizard indicators, right? These are all considered freely available here. And I'll explain that here in just a moment here. So all these other ones from Cheech, these were downloaded from a free website, you know, Infinity. Yeah, those have been in there for years. Sim22, he posts a bunch of indicators up on NexusFi. Yeah, what's called NexusFi now, right? Yeah, so let's cover that here again quickly here. All right. So looking at yeah, so here's some examples of indicators that are considered free to download. All right, so one of them is on NinjaTrader's ecosystem. This is their list of vendors here. Right now, right now you can see I have free to use. So these are all, you can download all these for free from, you know, these various vendors of NinjaTrader there, right? Now, if I uncheck that free to use, now these indicators here, see if I can find one that's obvious to understand. There you go, morning opening range. I think everybody kind of knows what that is, right? So this is going to be a paid for indicator. So I will not install this indicator because you got to pay for it. They may give a free trial, but that means everybody else would have to install the free trial of this indicator if, you know, they wanted to use one of these Bloodhound workshops. So that's why I don't install paid for indicators, even though there might be a free trial there. Right? Here, let's check that free to use here. There we go. Yeah. So these are 100% free to use, or they should be. If they're not, then the NinjaTrader should be emailed, you know, that this vendor is violating their terms. But, you know, so let's just assume everybody's playing by the rules. And just like on NinjaTrader's user app share, everybody knows these are all free to download as well, right? And then there's this kind of quote free to use category here. So from NexusFi, right, they have a download area. It's not 100% free because you do have to have a membership, and that membership is a one-time cost, but you know, it's just a one-time cost. And then you can download all the indicators off of NexusFi, you know, all you want there. All right. The one exception here is Elite. So the Elite membership is like double the price, I believe. The last I heard, it's double the price. So I'm excluding Elite membership indicators there, mainly because I don't have an Elite membership. So I can't get into the Elite membership area to download those. So, but again, you know, I'm also at the same time, I'm trying to keep, you know, free as possible, you know, with that terminology there. And so the same thing with Lizard Trader here. They have a indicator library membership, which once again, it's a one-time cost. So non-recurring, you know, $200 membership fee there. And once you have that, you can get all of these indicators in this area. So basically, this setup from Lizard Trader is essentially the same setup as NexusFi here. So once you have that membership, then you can download all you want, even including all the updates and everything as well, right? Yeah. So so actually, I can use Lizard Trader here as a good example, right? So Lizard Trader has free indicators, and then they have premium indicators, which you have to pay for. For each indicator, has a cost. So these are paid indicators here. Even though they have a trial, right? They do have a trial, but I'm not going to install the trial because I can only use it once. And so if somebody comes back and says, "Oh, well, you used this indicator before," I'm unfortunately I have to tell them, "Well, my trial's up, so I can't use it anymore." So so just installing trials just kind of becomes a problem there. And this is not taking me to their paid indicator section. Well, shucks. Well, let's go home. There we go. Products. Yeah, okay, here we go. So here's a candlestick pattern indicator there, right? And you got to pay, $275 for just that one indicator. So no paid indicators there, right? Yeah, they have a fancier Ichimoku indicator there. So they actually have, so this one's $225, and they do have a free version of this as well. Bottom line is, I can't install, or Shark Indicators is not going to pay for these indicators here. So, yeah. All right, Doug. So hopefully that clears it up. There, we'll leave it at that. Oh, and looky here. Nice. So we do have our stop entry there, which our first long signal was there. And surprisingly, actually, we had a bunch of long signals in a row. I should have accounted for that. So let's go and pick this up here, and let's set up some trailing actions here so that this stop entry can move down as price moves down here. So on the trailing actions tab here, let's set this to custom, and now we can start adding a trailing rule here. There. All right. So the trigger here is, right, we're only going to move the entry order when there's a new bloodhound signal coming in here, right? Because that bloodhound signal is identifying that gap there. So on the trigger, we're going to use the bloodhound trigger. And there you go. You got to scroll down one more. So there's the bloodhound signals there. And so we do need to pull in the bloodhound template. And if we click here, you'll see there's a drop-down list. So whatever bloodhound templates or files you may have used elsewhere within Blackbird, it'll keep a quick list here from this drop-down, so you can just select it real quick there like that. And then we need to select which logic template is providing the signals, right, that to trigger moving our entry order there. So obviously this is going to be the same as the entry signals, like so. And in this case, the next thing is, are the signals in the same direction as the trade, or are signals in opposite direction? Or maybe it signals in either direction here, but in this case, right? Our signals are in the same direction there. All right, so we had a long signal here, and then if another long signal comes along later on, right, then that obviously, yeah, that signal's in the same direction as the original entry signal. So there we go. So there's our bloodhound signals set up that will trigger moving our entry order down like so. And now the action here is, right, we want to move that order there. And we're going to move it. So for long, it's the low of the second bar back like so. Right, so if you notice, this menu here is the exact same menu that was set up on the options tab here in the initial placement. So if we open this up, right, this is the same menu. It's just stretched out a little bit. You know, we could square it up. Now it looks exactly the same there. Right. So let's go back to the trailing actions tab. The action. So yeah, we do have the action set up. And then the repeat there, we'll set this to repeat indefinitely because as we saw, we had a bunch of follow-up signals there. Yeah, so there we go. All right. And if we're lucky, maybe we'll get a bunch of short signals here. And we can watch that trail up there. Let's see. All right, let me get back to the Q&A window here. So, all right, so I took care of that question about custom indicators. Let's see. Doug is asking, yeah, I was thinking about mentioning that. I had a feeling there might be a follow-up on this, but yeah, Doug is asking, so as a trader who might know how to program indicators, can we send you our own custom indicator? No, for the sake of viruses, we do not load up any indicators that are emailed to us. Those indicators must be posted on a public forum, and we'll download it from there. So essentially, what we're doing is we're protecting ourselves by, forcing somebody to put this indicator up on a public forum, which then triggers legal ramifications if there is found to be a virus within that indicator. So, what is it? The U.S. millennial law that was passed a couple decades ago, says if you upload any content that has a virus in it, the FBI will come after you. So, that's kind of our easy escape route to try and protect us against indicators that contain viruses. So, yeah, so the simple thing to do there, Doug, is you can, oh shoot, I missed it. Oh, no, actually we did get an entry there. Great. All right. Yeah, so sorry about that. Back to Doug's question here. I think the easiest thing you can do is just upload your indicator to the user app share there. Of course, if it's proprietary, I understand that. And yeah, really, I don't have any solution to protecting a proprietary indicator that you don't want to share. Yeah, it's just one of the things that kind of falls through the cracks. There. Mm. Oh, all right. Yeah, going back to Wayne's question here. Yeah, this is something to be aware of when it comes to trading these days is the markets move so fast that sometimes even software can't get an order submitted in time before the market closes the gap. So look here, right? So we had, looks like we only had a couple of ticks here. No, we almost had 2 points. Almost had 2 points. But, you know, but the market had moved so fast that it had filled that gap. And so Blackbird caught that and did not submit the trade there. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. I think what could possibly help, right, is when I set this up. I mean, in a perfect situation where the market's not moving a million miles an hour at the speed of light, right? Just placing a stop order, will work there. Most of the time, but especially on the NQ here, the markets move at the speed of light. So enabling the automatic order type here um, is probably going to be beneficial. So, um, and let's see here. Oh, actually, maybe. Ah, okay. Here's my issue. Somehow I had put a one tick offset in there. I didn't realize I'd clicked down there. There we go. That was the problem. All right, but so there we go. So we kind of learned two things there. So I know it says I'm reading the message here. It says stop entry low high one tick, right? So that one tick is referring to this offset here. So adding a one tick offset to that. So that one tick offset, was a problem there. But at the same time, you know, as mentioned before, the markets move so fast that, if you only have like a one tick gap, right, the market could very easily have closed that gap and therefore, a stop entry, couldn't be placed anymore. So the enable automatic order type there might be beneficial. And yeah, in this type of system here. There. Click OK, so that gets there filled in there. There. All right. I believe I'm ready to kind of move on here to Doug's emailed in question. Let's see here. All right, let me get back to the emails just a moment, gentlemen. Um, let's see here. All right, so Doug, you wrote all your responses below. Yeah, well, you got to read the emails in their entirety. The emails clearly state you cannot reply below this line. All right, so we use a ticketing system, and all ticketing systems state in their instructions do not respond below this line because those responses are ignored by the ticketing system. So, yeah, so Doug, essentially, I didn't get anything. So make sure you write all your answers above the line where the ticketing system says keep all your answers above this line, or do not reply, yeah, below this line. Yeah. So, yeah. Um, Maybe at some point ticketing systems will begin to use AI, and AI can pull out your answers from anywhere within the email. But so far, from what I've seen, ticketing systems are still very simple, very simplistic, and everything needs to be all replies need to be above that line there. So actually, yeah, you know what? Now that I think about it, yeah, I'm surprised ticketing systems really haven't um, incorporated AI a little bit more. Uh, yeah, to allow people to respond below that line or eliminate that line altogether. Yeah. Um, let's see here. Um, and let's see here. Wayne says it's been working on the ES. Great. Yeah. So what we're looking at here, this was Wayne's question here from earlier. So great. Yeah. Um, all right. Um, so for now, I am just waiting, for Doug to email back all of his answers above the ticketing line there. So don't feel bad. You're definitely not the first, and you won't be the last to uh, not read through that. Yeah, to answer below that line there. Um, let's see here. Yeah, and then the next thing, ticketing systems are delayed, so everything gets processed through the cloud. So it usually takes a couple of minutes. So, um, all right. So I'm just looking to see if there's any other emailed in questions possibly. Um, all right, so I do have your response here, Doug. Um, at least from let's see. Yeah, I got your response from your most recent email this morning. Okay. All right. So, gentlemen, just give me a couple of minutes to read through this here. Okay. All right. Great. Yeah. So, all right. So these kind of boil down to, yeah, just two simple questions here. So let me provide a setup so everybody understands here what's going on, what's being asked. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Give me a moment here, gentlemen, to get my chart set up here. All right, so let me break down this question here for everybody. So yesterday in the Bloodhound workshop, we generated a long signal when the Donchian channel makes a step higher, right? So only when the Donchian steps higher, right, a long signal is generated, right? Now this isn't necessarily a entry signal. It's just a signal that says, hey, the Donchian channel stepped up. And vice versa, when the Donchian channel steps down, when the lower line steps down, a short signal is generated, right? Now, so these signals from the Donchian channel coming from Bloodhound are not entry signals. They're actually to trigger moving a stop loss here, right? So we can kind of see here that a somewhat moderately sophisticated kind of stop loss calculation here is wanted here, right? So the Donchian channel is substituting, analyzing maximum favorable excursion data here. All right. So essentially the Donchian channel is a good way to say, if you're, there's a good way to identify if you're in a long trade here. Let's say you're in a long trade here. Well, if the Donchian channel steps up, then that means your MFE just got larger, right? And vice versa for a short. All right. If you're in a short trade and the Donchian channel is stepping lower, then once again your MFE is growing larger, expanding there. So kind of again using the Donchian channel as a substitute from actually analyzing this data, because this data is not available as an indicator. Yeah. Now, if you were to custom code your own strategy, you can get that data from NinjaTrader, I believe. I'm not sure, but Blackbird doesn't have mechanisms to be able to read all of this statistical trade data, in for making decisions. So at least not yet. So yeah, let's see here. So the bottom line, to kind of boil this all down in simple terms, what's being asked here is, all right, so if in a long trade, how do we move our stop loss in one situation using just a fixed offset distance, right? Yeah, this is just a fixed offset distance. So there's really no differential here. It's just a fixed distance there. So that would just be a fixed stop loss distance that trails only when the Donchian channel steps up for a long trade, or if the Donchian channel steps down for a short trade. And then this other one here, right, where the stop loss spacing is variable. Right now, the optimum solution here would be the stop loss spacing is based on a percentage of the MFE, but of course, but unfortunately, this is not available as an indicator. The ATR is. So I'll explain what Doug is kind of asking here also is, since this is not available as data to an indicator, right, currently NinjaTrader doesn't have a way to port this data into an indicator. Maybe Ninja 9 might make that available. So the question is, since we don't have that data, is it possible to make a custom indicator kind of similar to the ATR? Like, for example, somebody could take this Donchian channel and use the distance, between the upper and lower here, and use that distance to kind of substitute for MFE. Right. So we'll cover that here in a moment. So, all right. So with that, let's get Blackbird open. And I don't have any entry signals here. So I'm just going to go with a market entry, because again, this question only focuses on the stop loss here. And then let's go into the stop loss. And I'm going to go with a tick. Yeah, so concept one is just using a simple tick-based offset. And let's go with, I'm on the NQ. I better go with the 40 tick here. So let's go with this 40 tick break even. Yeah, I'll go with this break even, and then it break even at 30 ticks here. All right. So we're going to start off with just a simple 40 tick based stop loss. And then in the trailing actions tab here, right, here is our break even. So we move to break even after 30 ticks have been achieved, which, today's NQ, that sounds like we shouldn't have to wait too long for that, hopefully. But then the trailing here, right, this trailing is only to be triggered when, as said before, the Donchian channel either steps higher or the Donchian channel steps, like here, steps lower, right? So I'm gonna open up this trigger here, and we're going to replace the interval with the Bloodhound signal trigger. Right. So again, when the Dacian channel steps higher, we built that in yesterday's Bloodhound workshop. So we'll get a long signal when the Dacian steps higher. And then from Bloodhound, we'll get a short signal when the Dacian channel steps lower. So that's what we're going to pull in here. And yeah, I cleared it out. So we'll have to go in and load in yesterday's Bloodhound workshop here. All right, and then from the logic templates, let's see, what did I call it? There we go, the Dacian channel, higher, high, lower, low. All right, so those signals from Bloodhound are being used to control when that stop loss moves. And let's see here, and the signals are in the same direction, not opposite direction. Yeah. Yeah, so the signals from this Dacian channel, you know, higher, higher, lower, lower, in the same direction as the trade, right? And all right, yeah, that's all we had to do. So the action was already set up. We'll just, you know, this is just a fixed, or sorry, a 40 tick trailing stop loss here, but we just had to modify what the trigger is that moves that stop loss. But then there's one last thing, which is we only want that stop loss to move only when we get a Bloodhound signal that identifies the Dacian channel moved lower or the Dacian channel moved higher for a long trade. So we need to go into the repeat and check this only repeat when re-triggered, right? So in other words, the trigger has to, yeah, so Bloodhound has to send or generate another signal to re-trigger move the action here, right? To re-trigger the movement of that stop loss. So, and let's see, one thing else we should do here is adjust the frequency. So this is no longer a tick by tick trailing, right? So this trailing now is based on an indicator, right? Bloodhound and the Dacian channel. So this is only going to trigger when the bar closes. So we should set this repeat every once bar, right? So what that does is that reduces how often Bloodhound is analyzing this trailing rule. So it'll save a lot of CPU calculations there. So when you're just as a tip here, whenever you're using an indicator as a trigger, or if you're using an indicator to set your stop loss, right? Your stop loss is following an indicator, then your repeat here should be using once per bar, right? Because your indicator is only going to update once per bar. So, yeah, and that just saves CPU processing there. So, all right, so there we go. So we had to make two adjustments: adjust the trigger, and then enable the repeat only when re-triggered. There. Okay, so we have that all set up. And let me take a look here, my little cheat sheet as to where the market's going. Yeah, it looks like the market's going to go a little higher. Oh, but first, again, pay attention to the little notes here that Blackbird's giving you. So I had to do a reload so we can get NinjaTrader to spin up Bloodhound inside of Blackbird. So let's reload our chart. There you go. All right, so let's go long and hopefully we'll get the market moving a little bit higher. There. Well, the market is just crawling right now, isn't it? Um, well, all right. I'm thinking, yeah. All right, let's go with a little faster moving chart here. There we go. All right, let's go long. Yep, there we go. So I got it just in time. Our dodging channel stepped up. Our stop loss moved just by a fraction there. Let's see. Hopefully we'll get another close higher. And we can see that stop loss stepping up there. Yep, there we go. Excellent. All right. So yeah, let's kind of summarize this again. So this is concept number one here, this first question. So we're just using a tick-based stop loss there. All right. And then in the trailing actions, so from that quick list, I did select the one that has a break even. So if you don't want a break even, right, you could just delete that there and then just be left with the trailing portion here. But the question was really about triggering. How do we trigger the trailing only, right, when the dodging channel steps higher, right? And again, we're using a bloodhound signal from yesterday's workshop there to trigger when that stop loss can move there. And so the movement, right, is still, right, this is still just a 40 tick trailing stop loss there. But the key to ensuring that the stop loss only moves when the dodging channel moves higher for a long trade or the dodging channel moves lower for a short trade is using this only repeat when re-triggered. Yeah, so in other words, we have to get a bloodhound signal coming in every time for that stop loss to move there. Yeah. Well, all right. Well, so that was, yeah, that's concept number one. So we did get to see it trail up a bunch of times there. So I think we're good. Good for this one. Let's close that. Oh, close that out. Close that out. There. All right. Now, all right. So question number two here. Right. So how do we create an adjustable stop loss here, similar to like using an ATR stop loss, right, based on volatility here? But how would you create a stop loss that uses something like MFE, right, the value from MFE? So again, I don't think this is available from NinjaTrader to be used in an indicator. Actually, I'm positive it's not. So, so what you could do is, since the dodging channel is being used here, you could just create a custom dodging channel indicator that just has a third output that tells you what the distance is, right? The distance from the lower channel to the upper channel. And then in Blackbird, so you would use that in Blackbird here. Actually, I'll delete that stop loss there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to an ATR based stop loss. And I'll go with, I'll just go with this 4 ATR stop loss there. So again, this is just to get me started. So what you would need is, as mentioned, that Donchian channel, you would need to output whatever the difference is between the lower channel and upper channel in points, right? The ATR outputs values in points. So any indicator that you use in the offset section has to output a value in points, right? If you're using an indicator such as the Donchian channel, right, the upper and lower lines specifically, right, these lines are actually outputting a price, right, whereas the indicator is outputting a value in points. So indicators like the Donchian channel, or maybe the super trend or ATR trailing stop indicator, those indicators go up top here, right? So indicators that output a price value, such as like a moving average, right? That outputs a price. You would use those indicators up here, up top, right? So indicators that are calculating volatility, those you use in the offset section. So so that would be it. So so somebody could create a custom Donchian channel that has a third output here, that tells you what the delta is, or the difference between the lower and the upper channel in points, and then you would just plug it in here. So yeah, so now obviously these plots here are price, those are price values. So so those couldn't be used in the offset section down here. Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure the PPO outputs values. It's normalized to whatever instrument you're using, and I think that normalization is in points. So the PPO might be an example of an indicator. Yeah, that could be used in the offset section. Again, I don't know off the top of my head. I would have to look at the formula, but yeah. So in any case, that's the answer to question number 2 is, creating your own custom. I'm just going to cancel out of that. Yeah, creating your own custom indicator here that outputs a value in points. For whatever you want to use to substitute for this MFE, volatility differential there. Yeah. So there you go. Just replace the ATR with that custom indicator and you're good to go. Yeah. So let's see here. Actually, everywhere the ATR is being used, you would substitute in your own custom indicator there. Yeah. So this break even, well, actually, no, maybe not this break even, because this is just simply looking for profit. So that differential, actually, I guess no, that's right. So for the break even, this profit or loss is, it's hard coded to ticks, points, currency, ATR. Yeah, so you can't put in a custom indicator here for profit or loss. So that can't be changed there. But the ATR, actually, yeah, sorry, both of those are profit or loss. So, all right, yeah, so we're just back to the action. This is the only ATR that could be substituted there. But of course, these ATRs, you could set those to whatever you want. So, yeah. And then on the options tab, yeah, for the initial placement, you would replace that ATR as well. There. All right, I think that covers everything there for Doug's question. Yeah, so with that, let me see if there's any follow-ups on this. Let's see. All right, yeah, Doug was just asking to follow through and use the ATR. So, all right, we got both covered there for you. Yeah. All right, let's see what Rob has here. All right, well, I don't see any follow-ups on Doug's question. And yeah, so just to double check, Doug, let me know if I missed any other kind of minor questions there. Yeah, if I missed anything, Doug, just let me know there. So I just want to make sure I get everything covered there. I think I got to the gist of your questions there, but yeah, let me know if I missed something. And so in the meantime here, Rob looks to be anew. He's asking for introductory guides there. I suspect there, Rob, that probably what you're looking for exactly doesn't exist, because really Bloodhound and Blackbird are blank canvases, and it's for the trader to fill in the type of system that they want to generate. But there are getting started videos there to ease you in to both products there, just to get you started. So let me find those videos. And actually, if you still have the emails that were sent to you, I know there was a handful of emails that were sent out after purchasing, and one or two of those emails there does have a link to the getting started videos. So just like every vendor, when somebody buys something, the first or the second email will include, a link to, getting started on learning about, that indicator or that product. So, but where I can show you to go here is when you go to our website here. Actually, I'll so starting from the home page or anywhere on our website, just go to support, and then go to documentation. It says start here. And then here, start with the getting started videos right there on top. So you can click on that. And here are a bunch of quick start videos right there. All right. So, starts off with Bloodhound, creating a basic system, multi-time frames, and then introduces you to Blackbird, creating some orders, exit signals. Actually, I don't think that list is complete. Yeah, it stops at 9. There we go. Yeah, stops at 9. Oh, great. It does include the optimization. Excellent. So, yeah, so there we go. Getting started there. So again, just go to support, the first one on the top there, documentation, and then the link is right there. There. All right, Rob, hopefully that gets you going. And I think probably the most common way that we suspect, people like to learn about Bloodhound specifically is finding finding a system that sounds interesting, or finding something that's similar to maybe how you're thinking of trading. So on the training workshops page here, again, if you go to support, it's the second one down here on the list here. And if you scroll down to the recordings, keep going, right, here's a list of workshops there. If you open that up, and then, yeah, you can scan through and see if anything looks similar to what you're interested in, similar to how you're trading. And then, yeah, just start watching any of these videos here that, look interesting, or again, similar to how you want to trade. Yeah, just start there, because these will actually, get you into the meat and potatoes of actually building something there. So now, not all of these are systems. Some of these are just simple little condition builders, um, but some of these are actually generating discrete signals, such as like a trading system. So yeah. Yeah. All right, Rob. So yeah, hopefully that should give you plenty of homework this weekend. So unfortunately, I do that from time to time. Give people plenty of homework. So, and of course, if you do have something specific in mind and you just want to see how to build it out, then, you can just email, what you want to build, just email that into support. Um, it is always nice if you can include screenshots to help illustrate, examples of, what the entry signal would be, for Bloodhound, and so forth. Blackbird really doesn't need screenshots. No, typically it doesn't. But when building out, asking questions about how do I build this system in Bloodhound, usually screenshots do help a lot. There, yeah, you just email that in, and then we'll work on it in the next workshop. So, all right, put that away. All right, let's see what we have from Doug. Oh, yes, Doug. Yeah, so Doug is asking, yeah, so for question number 2, using the ATR or that custom indicator that's calculating the delta between the Dacian channel lines there. Yeah, so I mean, it doesn't matter what is setting the stop loss offset distance, right? That's not going to change your triggers here. So yeah, whatever you're using to calculate that offset distance, for the stop loss, right? So for here, for the ATR, right, the stop loss is using, right, it's taking the last price and then offsetting for ATRs. So, but as far as triggering the movement of the stop loss there, yeah, this will also, you will always use that bloodhound signal there, yeah, to control when the stop loss is triggered to move. Yeah, so we'll set this up here. There we go. Set that to, oop, signal in the same direction. There we go, signal in the same direction. So, yeah, so if you're using a bloodhound signal to identify when that stop loss should move, yeah, you'll always need to use the bloodhound signal trigger to do that. And then also, you'll always need to go in here and set this repeat to only repeat when re-triggered, right? That way, your stop loss isn't moving when the Dacian channel is flat. Although, yeah, we can see here from the reality, obviously the Dacian channel in this example doesn't step higher when the market makes a pullback. So yes, looking at the bigger picture there, looking at the bigger picture, for this specific case, the repeat isn't actually necessary. Yeah. So, yeah, because as we can see, actually, let's go along here. Yeah. Yeah, so clearly, since the Dacian channel is tracking the market making new recent highs, then, oh, let's see what's going on here. Oh, yeah, looks like the market's going to go short here. Yeah, since the Dacian channel is tracking new highs, basically the Dacian channel is identifying when stop losses move, when the typical stop loss moves there. So yeah. So this is not really necessary in this specific case of using the Dacian channel here for both, question 1 or question 2. The only difference between question 1 and question 2 is one's using a tick-based offset, and the other one's using an ATR offset, right? Yeah. Okay. Hopefully that cleared it up there, Doug. Yeah, so if you have any other, follow-up questions, clarifications, just let me know. We'll get this all cleared up here for you. So, all right. Yeah, looks like Doug is good to go for now. Excellent. There. Well, all right. Well, let's see where we're at here. Take a little drink of coffee. So we're approaching the 2-hour mark. yeah, not too bad for Blackbird. So, um, all right. So I will hang around for at least 10 more minutes there, gentlemen, to see if there's any other Blackbird questions I can answer for you. All right. And if I don't see any more Blackbird questions in the next 10 minutes or so, then I'll just assume we're done for the day. All right. So if you have questions, go ahead and get those in the Q&A window there for me. And so in the meantime, while I'm waiting for the next round of questions to come in here, I'm just going to mute my microphone. Actually, I do remember something minor here in Doug's question. So at least I believe it was in one of Doug's emails here. Yeah, there's a minor mention here about the stop loss moving backwards. Could have been somebody else. Maybe it was Wayne. But so just to cover that here, since we do have new people. So, right, so the standard way of trailing is stop losses never move backwards, right? Stop losses are there to lock in profits, not give away profits. So, Blackbird adheres to that standard practice, right, of using stop losses. So let's say, for example, let's say you're setting your stop loss to an indicator like the Donchian channel, right? So if you're in, let's say we're in a long trade here, and we'll just have to ignore the fact that the price came back and hit this lower channel, right? But let's just say you have your stop loss following the lower channel. Well, if the lower channel moves lower, Blackbird will not move your stop loss backwards, right? Blackbird will always keep your stop loss, at the closest price, to where the market was, and then it'll just stop moving. All right. So you can override that behavior if you want to. But you have to do two things. If you want to be able to move your stop loss forward and backwards, tighten and widening your stop loss, you have to do two things. You have to go to risk management, and you have to enable this allow widening of your stop loss. So that allows your stop loss to move backwards, right? Widening that stop loss. So that's the first thing, is you have to override that behavior. And then next, you need to go into your stop loss trailing rules here. And in the action, let's see here. Yeah, let's use just the trailing one here. In the action, there's also a second setting here. It says allow movement. And the default is with direction only, right? So your stop loss is only going to move in the direction of the trade. So if you do want to be able to allow your stop loss to move backwards, then you need to set it to both directions, right? So there you can see, so there's two settings that have to be changed in order to override that industry standard of never moving or never widening your stop loss. All right. So, yeah. There, cancel that, cancel that.
All right.
There. All right. Well, let's see here. I think We have about 5 more minutes to get those questions in here and keep the workshop going. All right, so yeah, 5 more minutes to keep the workshop going. Otherwise, yeah, we'll wrap it up for the day. All right, gentlemen, a couple minutes. So if you have some questions, get those questions in there, please. Yeah. All right, gentlemen, I'm going to call it. So it doesn't look like we have any more questions. So, and 2 hours is pretty good for these Blackbird workshops. So that, gentlemen, I'm going to close up shop here. So everybody have a good rest of your weekend, or have a good weekend, I should say. It hasn't even started yet. And so, yeah, just a reminder, you can always email your questions in for these workshops at any time during the week. Just please, add for the subject line of your email, please add in there like workshop question, something like that. That helps us identify, what your intent is there. And also, yeah, just another reminder here that NinjaTrader, NinjaTrader did come out, has released an update there, and it has just a bunch of fixes. So usually, in my experience, these second releases after a major release, usually just involves a bunch of fixes. So, yeah. So, all right. So this weekend will probably be a good time to get that installed, just in case. Yeah. And so, yeah. All right. So with that, gentlemen, have a good weekend, and I'll see y'all next week. All right. Bye-bye, guys.